Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fueling Revenue Growth Through Branded Events. My name is Camille Whitestern. I lead experiential marketing here at Splash, and I will be your host and facilitator for today's Virtual Roundtable. We are here to tap into winning strategies to help you drive pipeline and fuel revenue through events. Today, I'm joined by Pavilion CEO Sam Jacobs and Splash's very own CEO, Eric Holmen. Just to kick off the first question here, Forrester reports that the average B2B buying process has 27 total interactions across multiple stakeholders, which is up considerably from 17 interactions in 2019. So I'm curious, how does this evolution impact the go-to-market strategy?
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's not how you would expect this digital first world to evolve. You would think that things begin to get fewer and fewer touch points along the way, and that eventually it's just click to buy. And it's interesting that the number of touches are expanding almost exponentially. A big part of that is craving trust, especially at this moment in time where budgets are a little tighter and every decision counts even more so than in the past. You got to make the right decision, and especially at larger organizations, you don't want to stand out for making the wrong decision. So it's going beyond the checkbox RFP and getting into more of the, can I trust these people? Can I get to know the people who are behind the product who are going to be supporting me? Can I get to know the people who are going to be building the product in the future and understand the core values of the business? More and more buyers today are wanting to make sure they're aligned with the values of the company that they're working with and partnering with. You can write anything on a website, but when you start to show up and have conversations, that's when the rubber meets the road. Part of the touch point expansion is going beyond the basics of buying and going into trust building and depth of understanding. That's obviously makes a great case for more in-person experiences and everyday events. And all the touches that have to go into it, because you still can't escape that there's going to be nurture programs and email. There's going to be these other things, but how do you humanize that experience? How do you make it something that feels a little more concrete and tangible? Lots of touch points don't mean you just send 17 more emails. That's the wrong way to solve that problem. And the right way is to build more qualitative experiences.
Absolutely. More is not always more. It depends on the context and the tactic. Sam, I'm really curious your perspective here, because when I think about building a community, trust is paramount, is it not? And I'm really keen to get your thoughts on approaching community-led growth. Have you felt that increase in the number of touch points or interactions needed? Has it shifted how Pavilion has had to go about recruiting community members? What's your take here?
So I think Eric's point is exactly right, that the reason that the number of touch points are skyrocketing relates to a remote first environment and relates to this fear of making a mistake versus the confidence to make a decision on behalf of your organization. I think we're humans by nature, but if we're all distributed all over the world, if we're all in remote organizations, then there's even less connective tissue between all of us. And so what that means is that you're even more nervous about making a decision in a difficult budgetary environment. But I would also say, as marketers, as people that are providing a service, it's not just about more, it's about the nature of the messaging. The messaging shifts as you move from the point where the person wants to make the decision but is afraid to, versus the person is happy with the status quo. Those things are very, very different, actually, and we tend to conflate them. So the issue is that if you're happy with the status quo, then you need to be convinced that the status quo is untenable. The classic messaging of sowing fear, uncertainty, and doubt and telling our buyers that they're on a burning platform, they have to move to a new experience. But the reality is that messaging actually dramatically backfires when the reason that the person is not making a decision is because they are afraid to make a decision and they are afraid of messing up. So you have to move to more of a reassuring type of messaging where you're providing risk mitigation about the decision so that people feel like no matter what, they have protection. We talk a lot in sales specifically about talk time. I have propagated this idea that listening is far more important than talking. The very best sellers, when faced with indecision, talk proportionally more than the sellers that are just trained to listen. Salespeople assume that if they ask enough questions, they will get to some kind of answer. But the reality is that most buyers, most humans don't know what they want. You have to be prescriptive about telling them what to do and what they want. That's why there's 27 touch points. What's the word that conveys all of that? Well, Eric already put it better than me. It's trust. How do you communicate trust and how do you communicate reassurance and risk mitigation? And I think that's something that we all have to think about as marketers and as salespeople. People are trying to say, does this thing do what it says on the tin, and how can I be sure? That's our job, is to communicate that, yes, it does, don't worry.
Wow. I'm so glad we're recording this conversation because both of you just dropped major gems. On behalf of everyone here at Splash, I want to thank Sam and Eric, and of course, our engaged attendees today. We hope that you found this to be a valuable experience. We have all sorts of content for you to consume. So check out our brand new website. Take care, everyone.